Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. You tell him I'm
But listen to what John Williams says, and he makes these predictions to Fortune 500 companies and hedge funds around the country. This is the guy who gets paid for his advice, and we're lucky enough to get him on CNN.
Where are we going? We have a severe recession ahead of us with even higher inflation than we're seeing now. It's going to be probably the worst business cycle seen since the Great Depression.
The Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express.
So the Federal Reserve is actually an illegal entity functioning within government.
It's illegal, and what we have given to this so-called agency is the authority to counterfeit money.
Do you have any points of view about the Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve operates?
They just enter something on a computer. Oh, you need 20 billion today. Here's 20 billion. But they got that out of thin air. It came out of thin air. It goes to the Treasury. The Treasury then pays the bills.
What's not good about 400 points on the Dow?
It's pouring huge amounts of money into the system. It's printing money. It's going to cause more and more inflation. The dollar's going to continue to go down. It's going to cause a worse recession in the end.
The president really has no control, nor does the Congress have any control over this cartel. It just has the appearance of control.
But I want to get your take on how much lower you think the markets can go right now.
We think that the markets can decline 50 or 60%. We hate to say something so somber, but this is not the time to be optimistic or pessimistic. It's time to be realistic. Our whole system has been built on credit expansion. We have to grow credit year over year in order to keep the economy growing. The economy is not going to grow. It's going to suffer recession, and once it enters recession, it's going to cascade on itself.
How much money does the Federal Reserve have? I know they can run the printing presses forever, but that is not good for the world. Inflation is not good for the world. A collapsing currency is not good for the world.
But the bad news this morning seemed to be irrelevant compared to yesterday's announcement of the most sweeping reform and regulation of the financial sector since the Great Depression. So if that is why the market is so happy, how long is that going to last? I mean, isn't this a little like rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic? Isn't it already too late?
You got to let them go. You know, I mean, if I had made the same bad bets as Bear Stearns, nobody would be bailing me out. You know, why should the average American have to pay more for gasoline and more for food because these Wall Street guys screwed up? Let them go under.
This is the reality of the crisis in the U.S. economy. People who used to own their own homes are living hand to mouth on land once occupied by those less fortunate.
OPEC says the reason for $105 or $106 a barrel oil is the falling value of the dollar, and you won't address that issue. Where do we go to find out who's right?
Wendell, I'm under strict instructions and have been from the beginning to not talk about the dollar, and I'm not going to get fired to satisfy your question.
But I will ask you this. What would be the first two things you would do if you were in Mr. Bernanke's seat tomorrow morning?
I would abolish the Federal Reserve and I would resign.